Right, let's get into it. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are breaking down one of the absolute biggest shifts happening in global logistics right now. If you're a business owner or a logistics manager, you probably remember 2021 vividly. That was the year the Ever Given got stuck, completely jammed up the Suez Canal, and literally cost the global economy billions of dollars in a matter of days. It was a massive wake-up call for everyone. Now, fast forward to 2026, and we're witnessing an epic, heavyweight battle. In one corner, you've got the historic 1869 Suez Canal, and in the other, a brand new, highly ambitious Middle Eastern overland challenger. We're going to look at the hard data, the costs, and the real-world implications of these two routes.
Think about the sheer scale of the problem here. Right now, maritime disruptions in the Red Sea are forcing these massive cargo ships to completely reroute all the way around Africa's Cape of Good Hope. Just imagine what that does to your supply chain. We are talking about adding an agonizing 10 to 15 days to shipments. And obviously, it's not just time, it's money. Fuel costs are spiking by 30 to 40% just to make that extended journey. So what if there was a faster, cheaper alternative? I mean, what if you could just bypass that entire headache?
So here's how we're breaking it down today. First, global trade under pressure. Then, the Suez Canal's current struggles. Third, we'll introduce the challenger, the development road. After that, a head-to-head on time and money. Fifth, navigating the geopolitical risks. And finally, how to actually choose your cargo's path. Let's dive in.
Part 1. Global trade under pressure. For over a century and a half, East-West trade has relied on a super historically reliable 120-mile lifeline. But look at this number, 40%. That is a massive drop, right? In early 2026, almost half of the Suez Canal's traffic just vanished compared to its 2025 peaks. And to put that into perspective, the Suez normally handles about 12% of the entire world's global shipping volume every single year. So when 40% of that disappears, it means massive volumes of cargo are suddenly taking much longer, vastly more expensive detours.
Which brings us to part 2, the Suez Canal's struggles.
Say you're moving goods from Europe down to the Gulf. Historically, this was a no-brainer. But today, the operational realities are getting brutal. For a standard 20-knot container ship, a typical transit from Turkey to the UAE via the Suez takes 10 to 14 days. Now, the canal passage itself is only about 12 to 16 hours. But here's the catch. Because traffic is limited to convoys, peak time wait times can easily stretch up to 24 hours, meaning you're adding 1 to 2 days just sitting in a queue. And the real kicker? Geopolitical tensions have driven insurance premiums for Red Sea passages up by 50 to 100%. It's a total time sink and a massive profit killer.
So, what's the alternative? Section 3. Enter the development road.
If the sea is getting too slow and too expensive, what about going overland? Enter Iraq's massively ambitious alternative, heavily backed by Turkey, Qatar, and the UAE, which is designed to bypass those volatile sea lanes entirely. They're calling it the Dry Canal, which honestly is a pretty brilliant name. The development road is a staggering $17 to $24 billion strategic pivot. We are talking about a 1,200-kilometer dual-track high-speed rail and motorway corridor. For freight, trains will hit speeds of 120 kilometers an hour. It connects directly from a newly expanded Grand Fall port in Basra, which is set to boast an incredible 99 berths, straight up to the Turkish border and right into Europe.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, sounds great on paper, but is it actually happening? Well, check out this timeline. This isn't just a pipe dream. The project launched back in 2023. By early 2016, a 63-kilometer access road to Fall was already done, and early segments actually went live. In fact, in February 2016, early trials successfully moved trucks from Turkey to Kuwait in just 7 days. 7 days. Phase 1 wraps up in 2028, and by the 2050 full rollout, it's designed to handle 99 million tons of cargo a year. The infrastructure is becoming a reality as we speak.
Let's get down to the hard numbers. Section 4. Head-to-head, time and money.
Let's look at the financial divergence for a standard 10,000 TEU container ship, or its equivalent, going from Turkey to the UAE. On the Suez side, base tolls alone run between $425,000 and $595,000, and that is after a 15% discount for big vessels. Tossing up to $900,000 in fuel, plus those crazy insurance surcharges, and a single Suez shipment totals $1.2 to $2 million. Now, consider the development road. Transit fees are shared among the containers, fuel is significantly cheaper, and without those maritime risks, insurance drops to around $50,000. The total direct cost? $800,000 to $1.5 million. That is a 20 to 40% baseline savings on costs alone.
But remember, time is money. A Suez transit gives you a 10 to 14-day standard sea journey, and that's if you don't get forced into one of those 25 to 30-day Cape reroutes we discussed. The development road completely slashes that. We're looking at a lightning-fast 4 to 7-day overland truck route and eventually just 3 to 5 days by rail. How? Because it literally cuts out over 2,000 kilometers of travel distance. Plus, they're using modern digital borders that reduce processing wait times from hours down to mere minutes.
But let's be real here. Section 5, navigating the geopolitical risks.
It's absolutely crucial we examine the real-world logistical realities impartially, because neither path is a pristine, friction-free vacuum. You have to plan for variables on both sides. Out at sea, the Suez route faces weather delays and significant maritime threats, specifically Houthi drone attacks that have hit over 60 ships since 2023. That is the main driver of those sky-high sea insurance premiums. Now, over land, the development road navigates through regions with historical political unrest and the presence of PKK militias. For a logistics manager, you really have to frame both of these purely as data points. They are simply variables that directly dictate your insurance premiums and the reliability of your delivery times.
The crucial point is how you neutralize those risks. On land, businesses are being super proactive with their mitigation strategies. They're using armed escorts to lock down convoys, and those digital borders keep things moving quickly. Furthermore, logistics managers are plugging into predictive AI platforms like Platform Tindify Next AI Pulse to analyze threats in real time and optimize routes on the fly. By managing these variables on land, traders are finding they can get a lot more predictability and completely avoid the costly pirate premiums associated with the sea routes.
So what's the bottom line? Section 6, choosing your cargo's path.
We've looked at the macro-level metrics, the money, the time, and the risks. If you're actually moving goods this year, how do you make the choice? It's pretty straightforward. Step 1. Look at your cargo. Is it time-sensitive? If you've got machinery or perishable goods, route it over land. In fact, source data points to a recent machinery shipment that shaved 5 full days off transit via a wreck, saving $50,000 in holding costs alone. Step 2. Are you moving cheap bulk cargo, like wheat? Stick to the sea, where volume is king, but monitor carefully for delays. There's also an interesting middle ground, like bulk bitumen. You might actually choose land for that specifically to avoid the sea contamination risks during a long Suez transit.
Let's look at a real-world application. Check out this quote from an experienced trader operating right now. They said, "I've pivoted 30% of my routes to overland alternatives, cutting costs 25%. I mean, you can't argue with that. It's undeniable proof of the financial viability of adapting to these new trade routes. It's not an all-or-nothing game. It's about optimizing your strategy piece by piece."
Zooming out for a second to the broader economic impact, the implications are just huge. The development road could add $4 billion annually to Iraq's revenues, but more importantly for global logistics, it has the potential to capture up to 20% of all Europe-Gulf trade. This serves as a vital, permanent hedge against Red Sea chaos and traditional maritime bottlenecks.
Which leaves us with this final thought. Global trade is fundamentally shifting to hybrid strategies right now. The roads are being built, the trials are successful, and the cost savings are completely real. You can even utilize tools like Platform Tindify Next Trade Explorer to calculate your own specific savings based on your exact cargo. The agility of your supply chain is no longer just a nice-to-have, it's a critical survival trait. So, as these new paths open up, are you going to adapt your routes or get left in the wake? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I'll see you on the next one.